very short. Uh,
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. My name's Harrington Buatcan, sitting in for host Eric Espina. What you saw is the book. This is already available, General Almonte.
fully booked, I
In
think.
fully booked. It's already out. We are going through the book very quickly within this whole show to try and bring it up to the current events that we are now having to experience. Going back to the Marcos regime, Marcos era, being that you've served 4 different presidents. You were obviously with a military career on you. You are a professional. You weren't a politician.
No,
Okay.
never.
Let's move on a little bit further. From the Marcos era, you moved into the Cory regime, and yet you did not suffer any, how would you say it, any background or stain on your name, and you moved on to the next president.
Well, siguro po dahil sa in 1986, I was part of the RAM that brought down the old regime.
When did you lose faith then on the Marcoses, if you were part of the RAM?
Well, you know, even if I lose faith, I must say this for the record, that I respect President Marcos, and I respect all the presidents I served. You know,
Apat na eh.
Macapagal,
You
Cory,
go back to Macapagal.
Diosdado.
Diosdado Macapagal.
Diosdado, yes. I was a lieutenant. I was his security aide. In fact, that is where I get my experience in the region, because Macapagal used to ask for a thin black lieutenant that he sent as a messenger, and I fit the
Your
description.
thin black
Arthur,
lieutenant.
yeah. Arthur Macapagal used to look for who is this thin, ugly lieutenant, and I fitted the description. So he used to send me around in the Mapilindo, you know, he was inaugurating this Mapilindo, etc. So I came to know Sukarno, is this
Malaysia,
si
Indonesia.
Anouk, si Anouk,
Umikot ka.
Abdul Rahman, they're all dead already. Rahman is still, no, not, is dead already, Rahman.
Para kang diplomat, hindi ka parang general.
No, hindi ako diplomat, but President Macapagal has a unique way of exercising his leadership. He has some secret messages for certain colleagues of his or counterparts, and sometimes he sent me. Maybe he sent other people, but I was just one of them.
Well, your career obviously spans from both the military side, tactical alliance strategy, management, on-the-field training, combat, as well as diplomatic, being sent by the president, no less.
That happened, yeah.
Yeah, it seems side by side yung experience mo in progress over the decades. Let's go forward. You're now in the Cory regime. What happened in particular? Now, for some reason, for one way or another, you have gained the notoriety of being called shadowy and sinister. Why is that?
I really don't know, but maybe I worked with the Viet Cong for 3 years.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, because we were there for civic action.
Okay.
And
Yun ang role ng Pilipinas during the Vietnam War.
yes, during the time of Marcos. Now, the fear of Marcos is if we are engaged physically with the Viet Cong, and it was very real, because the Korean Combat Division were replaced in Tangian Forest, according to the information I got, suffered about 25% casualties. So we were put in there to do civic action, but we were exposed to such risks. Now, the fear of Marcos politically is if we are engaged, we might be compelled, the mood in the Philippines may change from civic action to combat.
Yes.
Because the Vietnam War was very unpopular. And the people here in the Philippines was anti-Vietnam War. In fact, Marcos won on the promise that if he wins, he will not send any combat troops or civic action group to Vietnam. But when he became president, he cannot really govern without the help of the United States. So he was forced to send combat civic action group.
Were you always anti the American forces?
No, never.
Well, not necessarily anti, but after learning your diplomatic mission going to China with the First Lady and trying
That
to
was
start
after my Vietnam.
after your Vietnam.
yeah.
But you're learning with your education and experience, you're realizing that we shouldn't be dependent on just the American imperialism.
On
that was
anybody. Yes.
on anybody, regardless of country.
We should only be dependent on ourselves and God.
So, you recommended this to Marcos. Did you recommend the same to President Cory
Which
about
one? Which
to be
one?
independent of American
Yeah.
dependency?
And actually, no need, because they feel the same way.
Okay.
Only their politics cannot express it the way I do now. I have no politics.
Were you ever really political even during those days, or you were just tinignan ka lang as a politician somewhat, being political in nature because of the nature of the job?
Well, maybe, well, I really don't know, but as I told you, in my career, because of what happened when I was a lieutenant, I never commanded a unit higher than a platoon.
Yes, you said that was the only one in the
You know, that's
Balahap.
the lowest combat unit in the military. So my life was exposed to all kinds of experiences that involves this politics, this international relations, etc.
Yes, it seems. Parang ganun nga.
So that is where I spend my life. That's why I think this way, took this way.
The book covers your experiences moving from one presidency to another.
All, yes.
So from Macapagal to
Gloria.
Ferdinand Marcos. Let's go first to Fidel Ramos. Fidel Ramos was your close friend, being a military person himself.
That's true.
And you had a blossoming career together.
That's true.
And
That's
he
true.
had a lot of trust in you. So you were one of the senior officers
That's
during
true.
the time of President Ramos.
Yes, yes.
You both agreed that the threat of China already in those days was real, regardless of their prosperity today.
Yes, because the mischief reef was
Already
occupied in 1995 during his term.
Ayun. Alam niya na yung mischief reef
Oh,
yung
yes.
nangyayari.
Oh, yes. That was our first among
Bakit
the...
walang ginawa ang Kongreso po?
Ano po yan?
Ba't walang ginawa ang Kongreso? Ever since, hindi tinalakay, hindi pinag-usapan.
Alam mo, even in the present 2010, you know, maybe I can say it now because it is in the book, the SINPAC, the Chief SINPAC,
Yes.
Admiral Wheeler, when he came here, 2010, President Noynoy was only about 3 weeks as president. He was supposed to be the representative of the U.S. government in the MDB review, which is done, I think, yearly. And he asked his superiors in the Pentagon, in the White House, in Capitol Hill, who can help him in ensuring that President Obama's instruction to him to ensure, to help President Aquino to be successful.
Interesting.
Because the success of the government of President Aquino is, according to him, according to President Obama, is in the interest of the United States. So he said, who can help us in the Philippines? Because I'm talking to 3 people. President Aquino, the new Defense Secretary, si Gasmin, and the new Chief of Staff. I forgot the name, who is that one? Is there anybody who can help us? And he told me, your name was the one suggested.
Your name came up because
Yeah,
of your
so-
experience, obviously, in
I
the
don't
last
know, but
40 years.
so I talked to him for 3 hours diyan sa Makati, sa yung hotel diyan sa. So anyway, we discussed 2 things. One is how to help President Aquino to be successful, and the other one is about the South China Sea and China.
Which is a bigger threat? Noy or the South China Sea?
I like
Well,
that
before you answer that,
Yeah.
going fast forward, you're now in President Ramos's time. You're very close. You can obviously share a lot of ideas, and he would listen to you as much as you found him to be a very straightforward fellow with visions. He had a clear vision. He brought us out of darkness to begin with. Then comes the daughter of the former president, GMA. You were also assisting GMA.
In a way, yes, because she asked me. Yeah, she asked me.
I think people or presidents, the past presidents, seem to not be able to get away from your experiences, considering the diplomatic in the military strategic enforcement.
Hindi naman po. Anyway, since you opened that up, you know, we have only so much time here. Maybe I should share with you a point to explain how we work with, say, Cory Aquino and President
Yes.
Trump. Well, I think one of the crucial points in the relationship between President Aquino and President Ramos is during the campaign of President Ramos, 1992, 91, 92. One day he called me, you see President Cory in Malacanang, because he wanted to talk to my advisor. I told him, you are the one. So I went there. And when I went to Malacanang, si Senator Drilon, Senate President Drilon, was the executive secretary. I think he still remembers it. I hope he's listening. He told me that, Joe, the president is in the other room. He just asked me to meet with you. Okay, I said. Ano bang kailangan? Well, just one question, sabi niya. Ano yon? If she does not or did not endorse Secretary Ramos, he was Secretary of Defense, as president.
Instead of Mitra.
Yeah, Mitra, she endorses instead of Ramos.
Correct.
Will Ramos still run for president? I said, yes, he will run. And please tell the president that if she does not endorse Ramos, he has a better chance of winning.
Baliktad, ha? Baliktad.
Yeah, and we really mean it, and we believe it. I believe it. I said, why? Well, I just thought of it there, but I believe it. Because I've been the one working on this with President Ramos. I don't tell him these things. But I know the intellectual, if I may call it that way, infrastructure of all of this thinking. So he asked me, what do you mean? Why can that happen? He thought I was bluffing. I said, no. And the truth was this. At that moment when I went there, we just finished. I presided over the formulation of the campaign platform of Ramos, which will also be his platform of government, if
Which
he
became
wins.
his platform of government.
So, what's that? I said, look, it's very simple. All we will do is put the Philippine House in order. That's number one. Now, to do that, just two things that we will do. One, we will reform the non-land sector. We will bring down the monopolies, oligopolies, monopsonies,
Successfully done.
and we will begin with PLDT. Number two, we will reform the entire land sector, agrarian, nationwide. We'll begin with Hacienda Luisita. With these two, Ramos will win, and he will be the best president of the Philippines. That's what I told him. And it's there in the book, and I want it on record here on TV. Yeah.
Well, it is on TV. General Almonte, we're going to have to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to fast forward into the current events of what's going on today. Obviously, it's called the exasperation, the Mama Sapano and Noy Noy. What is the bigger threat? You tell me. We'll be right back.